We have people. Where are you peeps coming in from? Let us know. Scotland,
This
Virginia,
is
Wisconsin. Cheeseheads coming in. I love it. Bermuda, Florida, Berlin, Amsterdam,
wow.
Norway.
What incredible, so incredible, isn't it?
It's so beautiful to see. Chicago, Washington State, Maine, Vancouver, New York, Sweden. This is wonderful. Well, thanks
Wonderful.
everyone for taking time off your holiday to be with us today. That's all I have, Tina.
Okay, well, happy Easter, everyone. I'm having a very quiet Easter. I was thinking about children having Easter egg hunts and people cooking big roasts and things like that. And I'm actually having a very quiet day. And I was actually fine with it. So for those of you, for those of you that are by yourselves or with your pets and you're having a very, very quiet day, I think it's perfectly fine. For some people, those busy, busy family things are great. For some of us, we prefer the peace and quiet of a relaxing afternoon. So that's what Delphi and I are up to. I was out planting perennials this morning. I've had a new bed renovated by my boys on the front of the house, which I've been waiting for 2 years to plant. So that's what I was doing with my Easter morning. So yeah, let's see what Jesus has to say to us today.
Sounds fun.
Kind of a big day in his earthly life, I guess, way back then. You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. And of course, Easter is the big Christian holiday where the death and resurrection are celebrated. And Easter Sunday, of course, is the most important day in the calendar, in the Christian calendar, in the sense that this is the day that the new body was manufactured and the old body was disintegrated. And the purpose, of course, of that demonstration was for my students at the time. It's very interesting to us on this side of the veil to watch what gets done with a personal story. Now, my story was not totally personal. Obviously, there were a lot of people following me at that time. There were not just the disciples. There were many, many beings who I was interacting with and teaching. And of course, it was a great challenge for them to go through the process that was undertaken on Easter so many years ago. But really, for all of you who are Course in Miracles students, this is a most auspicious day, because this is the day that the truth was revealed, the truth of your eternal nature, the truth that the body in which you find yourselves is not the orchestrating factor in your lives. And this is the lesson for today, that your body is not in charge of you. You are in charge of your body. Your body does not determine your death. Your consciousness determines the time of your death, and your agreement with your guides and teachers and the plan for your life, the blueprint for your life, determines the time that you will pass into the next realm. And so one of the things that we really want to bring to mind today is this idea of really trusting in life, trusting in the vital life force that courses through your body, and trusting in that decision that was made before you were even born, your exit point. Now, there are occasionally in lifetimes a few exit points, depending on what you have accomplished in your incarnation. So we're going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you here, which is about this idea of death, this idea of leaving the planet, this idea of going home, this idea of returning back to the arms of God. We want you to really shift and change your perspective on this idea today and forevermore after this day. We want you to not see that somebody dying is the end of the world. We want you to see that somebody dying, as you define it, their spirit leaving their physical form and returning into a place of love and caring and forgiveness. We want you to change your story about this, because this is one of the great distortions in your world. And it is because the ego is inextricably entwined with the body. So when you see death, the body being vacated by the spirit, and this really is the best way to begin to look at it, is to say, spirit has left this body It is done its work here. It has decided to go home. When you tell that story, you will not be riddled by grief and despair. You will say, ah, that being has done its work here. Their exit point has arrived and they have taken it. So this is something that's going to be very, very important in the coming years. And the reason for that is that a lot of beings are going to be leaving their bodies. A lot of beings are going to be saying that their work is done and they are going to be going home. Now, for you as a being that is remaining here on Earth, that is going to be a very big challenge if you have a traditional view of death, if you have this idea that somebody leaving their body is a sad event. It is as joyful for spirit as a birth. In fact, a birth, when a being is being born into your world, we say prayers for them and we wish them luck because we know what a challenge it is. We know what they're going into. We know that separation and fear are the default settings in this place. We know that the body is difficult to handle and that your society is difficult to handle and that it's very unloving at times when you are in this place of separation. When we say goodbye to a spirit from in their birth journey, we are much, we would say, less joyful. We're happy for you in the sense that you're going into physical incarnation. You're going to clean up some things that need to be cleaned up. But the truth of the matter is, it is in your return home that the joy really erupts on the other side of the veil. And this is not to say that you should be happy when somebody passes over, but we want you to temper your belief that this is the end of the world and that forevermore you must be in grief and wringing your hands. This is not going to benefit any of you over the coming years. Now, why are many beings choosing to leave over the coming years? This is something that's going to be very important for you to understand as we approach these challenging times. The main reason for this is the shift in frequency. There are beings that know that they are not going to be able to handle the shift in frequency. And it was agreed upon before their incarnation that they would come in for a certain amount of time. And at a certain time, they would leave because it would become very, very challenging for those who had not yet reached a certain frequency in their evolution. Now, there are many of you, and a lot of them would be contained in Course in Miracles students groups. There are many of you that are in fact sort of teetering on that edge of almost graduating. And if you apply yourselves in this incarnation, you will graduate into the next level of consciousness evolution. There were, however, a lot of beings who knew that they would not make that graduation process. And so they have decided that at some point within this next decade or so, that they would be vacating their bodies and that they would then be reincarnated into another 3D community, another 3D society, and even another 3D planet, because they had more work yet to do. So this is how we want you to look at it. We want you to understand that this is their choice, and yet they may be choosing a way of leaving that will get people's attention. And this is something that we want you to understand, that people leaving en masse, whether it be a jumbo jet crash or a big ship going down or some natural disaster like a tsunami, something like that, when a lot of people choose to vacate their bodies at the same time, they have chosen to do it in that way to get your attention on Earth, to give you an opportunity to shift and change what you are doing and to actually look up from your unconsciousness. So when and if you see groups of beings leaving, we want you to understand that that was their pre-birth plan and that they agreed to go together so that it would get your attention. So this is what we want you to do when you see that. We want you to say to yourself, oh, what am I doing that is unconscious? That group of beings that decided to leave together, they've done that to get my attention, to get your attention. What is it that I am involved in that is of lower frequency? What is it that I've been trying to change that I haven't yet, that I know I should, and I'm procrastinating? Or where am I unconscious? What am I actually looking up from when I hear that a lot of people have left together? Oh, I was watching television, or I was sitting there ruminating about something from the past. And then you get this news and it wakes you up. It brings you into that present moment, which is what it was designed to do. The reason we're telling you this is because that is what is going to happen over the coming years. You will have news reports that will tell you X number of people have left the planet en masse in this particular event or that particular event. And this is all part of the ascension process. This is all part of the awakening of the planet from unconsciousness into consciousness. And you are all going through it, and you can all feel that you are having to pay more attention, and that you can feel that you are not as unconscious as you were. You are more aware of things. You're more aware of your guidance system. You're more aware of the words that come out of your mouth. You're more aware of the foods you put in your body. You're more aware than you were even 1 year ago. And this is a good thing. And this is what we all want to see. And unfortunately, for human minds that are deeply conditioned into sleep, deeply conditioned into not paying attention, deeply conditioned into entertainment, for example, it takes a lot to get their attention. And so there is a lot happening that is big. There's a lot happening that is challenging. And it is designed to get your attention so that you can reflect upon what you value, what you're investing your time in, what you're enjoying, what you're not enjoying, all of those things that we talk about ad nauseum. But this idea of death and it being the end is really the big shift that has to happen. Now, in terms of the resurrection, what was that? That was me proving that death was not real. This is part of the same conversation. Death is not real. Any being that leaves the physical plane and leaves their body behind, as you do in this circumstance that you find yourselves in, they are immediately opening a door into a new level of consciousness that welcomes them with open arms, loving kindness, forgiveness, and healing and compassion if they have been traumatized and have gone through a difficult time. That is what it is. So when you hear about quote unquote death, it is not that. The being that has vacated the body is not dead. They have merely moved on to another level of consciousness that you can communicate with if you hold the right vibration and if you train yourself to do it. They have not gone anywhere. But this place, this narrow focus that you all have here, this very, very heavy, dense, focused energy into separation, precludes communication unless you raise yourself up to where they are. Most beings do not want to come down into the frequency that you are holding as an earthbound 3D being. But if you are practicing forgiveness, if you are practicing being more loving to yourself and others, if you are retuning yourself with nature and all of the things we speak about, you bring yourself up into that potential place where they may be able to make contact with you. Now, we are not suggesting that you should spend your life trying to connect with those who have passed over. They have new assignments. They don't want to be getting called back all the time to have a conversation with you. They are doing fine. They are accessing new realms of curiosity and learning and growth. And so it is very, very good to let them be where they are. But we would say to you, remember, your grief, your deep and hurtful grief, your suffering comes from the story you tell about death. And so this Easter